Today I have a redo of a comparison that I did about a year ago between the fellow Aiden that we have right over here and the Xbloom Studio right over here. And I'm going to go ahead and brew a batch on the Xbloom Studio, and we're going to talk about that, why we go. So there's three buttons here. There's the scale button, which is what we're going to do right now. And I'm going to weigh out 15 grams of coffee onto the scale. Maybe. That's 16. We're getting there. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Almost done. Okay, we got 15 grams in there. I'm going to throw it up top here into the grinder. And I'm going to put this portafilter, the brewer on here. We got a flat bottom brewer with a Kalita 155 filter in there. Slap that on. We're going to put our origami cup underneath of it, which just fits the clearance. And we are going to go ahead and start the recipe, which we are going to do a 1 to 17, 5 pour, 1 to 17 ratio, 15 grams in. And it's going to be we're going to see how good of a coffee this is. But there's going to be 5 fours with a bloom in there for 40 seconds. So you're going to see this kind of operate and see how this works here in just a second. I'm just going to click start on my phone. It's going to go to the machine, and it's going to give me the option to click play on my phone or that. We're going to, okay, so now you can hear it's kind of finished up grinding, making sure everything's out. And we're going to start pouring here. And it gives you the timer and the weight. The weight that it's giving is coming out of the top here, even though there is a built-on scale. So I want to go over the differences of these machines, why I sip on some of the fellow Aiden. So these are two similar machines, yet two very different machines all at the same time. The fellow Aiden over there, the fellow Aiden comes in at $365 versus the Xbloom Studio recently jumped its price up to $600. So we're looking at almost double the price, which is a significant thing when it comes to brewing coffee. So let's go over the fellow Aiden here a little bit before I jump into the Xbloom. The fellow Aiden is kind of a traditional looking fellow product. It feels similar in build quality to the fellow Opus. It's all plastic outside of a little glass here. You have a dial that's similar to the fellow Kettle, the fellow Tally, everything on here. It's got a little screen, and you flip this up here, and you can choose between doing a batch brew or a single cup brew. For the batch brew, you are required to have this carafe here. You use a kind of Hario V60 style filter for the, not Hario's V60 style filter, just a classic filter that you buy at any grocery store, and then a flat bottom brewer for the batch brew. So you kind of select between the two, and it's kind of foolproof when it comes to brewing. On this screen, you select if you want light, dark, medium, or a selection from Fellow Drops, which is their curated coffee that they choose from roasters around the U.S. You are required to have the carafe in when you are brewing the batch brew. However, with the single cup brew, you can choose to serve it directly in a mug without the carafe. When you pull out the brewer on the top of it, it will automatically shut the valve off so it can't drip when you carry it to the trash can, which is a nice feature. That heats up instantly. It has a good sized water tank. However, the water tank is hard to see because it's smoked over on the side. You can also customize all of your brews on there as well. The downside is you have a limit on the ratio from 1 to 14 to 1 to 20. But you can customize it a lot throughout the machine as well. You can also click start you can schedule it to start at a certain time in the morning, just put some grounds in it and you're good to go prior to. Now this is the Xbloom Studio. You can see it takes up less space, but definitely is a good chunk taller than the fellow Aiden. I've used both of these on and off throughout the year. And the Xbloom Studio has a built-in scale right here that is super quick and super accurate. It has a built-in grinder here, and it has built-in hot water too as well. And each of these you can use completely independent from each other. So you can use the scale or you can use the grinder. The grinder comes with this little magnetic catch cup here that you can just simply press on right there and grind directly into it. You can grind and pull shots with an espresso machine. I've used the Pico Presso a few times with it, with the hot water spigot and everything else in there. Like I said, this is instant hot water, so I can set it to, I like to make lavender-based drinks, and I can set it to dispense 30 grams of water, and I can set whatever temperature, and it gives me that instantly, so I don't need to wait for a kettle to heat up. I've also used it for matcha too as well. Having that instant hot water on tap is very, very convenient when it comes to that. This does have instant hot water too, but it is a lot slower when it dispenses, and it's kind of more cumbersome to use. This kind of, it gives you more of a traditional pour over style in the sense of this one has like showers down versus this one you can kind of pour in the traditional spiral or straight pour that you prefer for brewing your cup of coffee. Now, where this really shines is the difference is this one you can use directly without an app. It's super easy to use, super intuitive. Anybody can follow it. Anybody can make a good cup of coffee with it. However, this one is a little bit more of a pain in the butt to use without an app. It comes with different cards you can do, and I can't figure out how to preload the card or if you can preload the card. You might be able to, but I've yet to figure that out. This one is really easy to share recipes with everybody, and there's also a lot of options of different things that you can brew on here. So there's trending recipes when you get onto the app. You probably can't see that, but that's fine. You can download the app and look at it. There's like competition style, geisha. There's just a lot of different trending recipes that you can do. There's tea recipes on here. You can get a tea brew with it. You can create your own recipe. You can use Xbloom's recipes. So this also comes with kind of like the fancy version of a K-cup is what I like to call it, meaning that you can buy this cup with pre-filled coffee beans in there. You can scan this card that it will come with. It'll have a recipe on there. You pull off the top of it. That cup has a filter in it. Pour your coffee grounds in there. Put your filter on this little filter hook that it comes with, and you brew everything directly from that. So there's no weighing of beans. There's no coming up with a recipe. It's like a foolproof, phenomenal pour over, and you don't need the app if you buy that, but that coffee is obviously more expensive than what it would be over here. There is all of these different recipes. There's hundreds loaded on the app. So when it comes to finding a recipe and exploring coffee, I find this incredibly good and incredibly enjoyable, and it produces phenomenal results. Now, let's get back to kind of when this started. My first video of this, I gave it to the fellow Aiden just slightly. I felt like the cup of coffee was better. So this time I kind of done it a little differently, and I did a 1:17 ratio, matching it as closely as possible. And both of these are great cups of coffee. This one's definitely, obviously, a lot hotter. But I honestly think that the Xbloom gives it maybe a touch better. And I think that the variety is based on the recipe. So in other words, that fellow you can get really, really good results on. The Xbloom can get really, really good results on. The thing that I like about the Xbloom is has more options to do it. You have to use the app, yes, but it also is just super nice to be able to just quickly pour hot water when you need to. Like, I find I use the Xbloom for a lot of other things rather than making coffee, which makes it more useful on my countertop. You can brew it using other brewers too as well. So if you have a plethora of pour overs, you can still use those, and you don't need to have a kettle available. It'll automatically just brew those for you. You just put it on a cup. The downside is getting a carafe underneath of it. You don't have a lot of space. I don't even know if this fellow cup, this fellow cup doesn't even fit underneath of it. So you're very limited on height space. There are options of carafes that you can get there. But overall, after using both of these for a year, I had one in the office. I had the Xbloom in the office, and I had the fellow at home. And I took the Xbloom home a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and got to the office, and I immediately regretted it because I then thought, I was like, I'll just use a kettle for what I was using the Xbloom with. And my goodness, kettles take forever to heat up. I never really realized that until I had the Xbloom, and I was just doing all my stuff instantly. And it was super nice when I make coffee for other people at the office and they wanted something that required me to make a syrup, or I wanted to make matcha. Having that instant hot water on tap was super, super nice, especially because I don't have a hot water tap on the espresso machine that I have at work. So having that instantly, being able to set it whatever temperature I want, was a huge, huge thing that I didn't realize how important it was to have that convenience. It's super nice to have a built-in grinder that you can use for whatever you want, including setting it up to grind independently just by simply clicking that button. You can change the RPM and the grind size super easily. It goes all the way up to 80, all the way down to 1, and it does a good job of spinning the burrs to get it down there. So when you click that, you're going to just hear it kind of work its way down slowly, getting it down to the right size, and then it's going to grind a little bit as soon as it gets there, and you can adjust the RPM very easily. And then it will stop as soon as you know, shortly after it knows that you are done grinding. Maybe this is a poor example right now. All right, we're going to give that one the benefit of the doubt, and saying that it didn't stop grinding because there was nothing in there to begin with. So as long as once you get the use of what these are and how to use them on there, those 3 dials, it really does work super well. It does produce an easy, good pour over, and I love the opportunity of ranges of things and taking things from different roasters. The nice thing is you can kind of do the same thing as if you wanted to. You can get a bunch of the cards from buying a couple of the pre-packaged cups of coffee that they sell, or capsules of coffee, however you want to call it. You can buy a couple of those, and then you can just write down how many grams that recipe is on there, and then you can just weigh out your beans and all that stuff, and then you can completely foreclose and forget the app and not have to deal with it, so you can have that there. So overall, I think it really depends on what you want. If you're really needed to save money, obviously the Aiden's where to go if you already have that grinder. If you like the aesthetics of it, great. It does a good job. You won't regret it. If you aren't really concerned about money, if you don't have a scale, if you don't have a grinder, that Xbloom is absolutely incredible. It's so sleek. It's like the Breville Barista Express that kind of has everything built in one, that is just very tailored, and a lot of people love it. It's not the best results in there, but there's something about just having it all in one for convenience purposes. Except the thing with Xbloom is it's actually really, really good. The grinder is really, really good. The hot water customability of it is really, really good. The pour over quality is really, really good. There was one little thing that we did have issues, is this did tilt quite a bit, so I had to add a bunch of electrical tape on the bottom of it to fix that out and wind it out. But overall, my year of this, I was wrong the first round, and I think the Xbloom is more for me than I thought the Aiden was. And that was originally saying is because I had it sitting next to my espresso machine and an EK43, so the grinder wasn't that important, but I just like the customability of the Xbloom a lot more, and it feels like it's easier to follow because you can follow the traditional pattern of pour overs versus kind of a machine, if that makes sense. I would love to know your thoughts on either one of these, but for me, I think it's worth keeping the Xbloom, and I'm actually going to sell and let go of that fellow, so you will not be seeing that anymore, and it will no longer be on my coffee bar. It had a good run, and I know it's going to make somebody else happy, but it's just not the machine for me. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have one of these machines. And again, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.